Welcome. This is Cheating Facts, real accounts of deception and justice. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from. My name is Michael, and I'm here to share true stories of betrayal and the pursuit of justice. What I'm about to tell you happened to me 18 months ago, and it completely changed how I view trust, marriage, and the dangerous territory where professional relationships cross personal boundaries. I thought I had the perfect marriage. 15 years with Victoria, a brilliant marketing executive who climbed the corporate ladder through sheer determination and talent. We met in college, built our careers together, and created what I believed was an unshakable partnership. I'm a financial advisor. She's in marketing. We understood each other's professional demands and supported each other's ambitions. That's why I was genuinely excited when Victoria told me about her new mentorship opportunity. Her company had partnered with a prestigious consulting firm, and she'd been selected to work directly with one of their senior partners, Richard Blackwood. Richard was supposedly a marketing legend, someone who'd built million-dollar campaigns for Fortune 500 companies. This could change everything for my career. Michael, Victoria said over dinner one evening, her eyes bright with excitement. Richard sees potential in me that even my own company hasn't recognized. He thinks I could be running my own agency within 5 years. I was proud of her. Victoria had always been ambitious, and seeing her professional dreams within reach made me feel like we were both winning. Richard was offering her exclusive access to high-level industry connections, advanced strategic training, and insights into client relationships that most marketing professionals never experience. The mentorship sessions started twice a week, Tuesday evenings and Saturday afternoons. Victoria would come home energized, full of new ideas and industry insights. She'd share stories about Richard's innovative approaches, his connections with major brands, and the sophisticated strategies he was teaching her. He's showing me how to think like an executive instead of just an employee, she explained. The way he analyzes market psychology is incredible. I'm learning things they don't teach in any MBA program. For the first 2 months, everything seemed perfectly legitimate. Victoria's work performance improved dramatically. She landed 2 major client accounts using strategies Richard had taught her. Her confidence soared, and our relationship felt stronger than ever. But then subtle changes began appearing. Victoria started dressing differently for her mentorship sessions, not dramatically, just more polished, more attention to detail. She'd spend extra time on her makeup before meeting Richard, claiming she wanted to look professional for such an important industry connection. The sessions gradually became longer. What started as 2-hour meetings stretched to 3 hours, then 4. When I'd ask about the extended time, Victoria would explain that Richard was incredibly thorough, that he'd often take her to networking events or introduce her to potential clients. These relationships take time to build properly, she'd say. Richard says most people rush the process and miss the real opportunities. The Tuesday evening sessions moved to Wednesdays, then Thursdays, then became fluid based on Richard's availability. The Saturday afternoon meetings sometimes became Saturday evening dinners with industry contacts. I started noticing Victoria's phone behavior changing. She'd step into another room to take calls from Richard, claiming their discussions involved sensitive client information. Text messages would arrive at odd hours, 10 p.m., early Sunday mornings, and Victoria would respond immediately, saying Richard often had breakthrough ideas at unexpected times. He's just incredibly passionate about the work, she'd explain. When inspiration strikes, he likes to share it immediately while the concepts are fresh. The turning point came during a family barbecue. Victoria's phone buzzed with a message, and she quickly picked it up, smiling in a way that made my stomach clench. It wasn't the professional smile she used for business communications. It was intimate, personal. That night, I couldn't sleep. Everything that had felt slightly off suddenly coalesced into a horrible possibility. The extra attention to appearance, the flexible scheduling, the private phone conversations, the immediate responses to late-night messages. These weren't the behaviors of a professional mentorship. I decided to investigate, but carefully and methodically. If I was wrong, I didn't want to damage Victoria's genuine career opportunity. If I was right, I needed concrete evidence. I started by researching Richard Blackwood online. His professional credentials were impressive, but I noticed something concerning. Several of his social media posts showed him at industry events with attractive female colleagues, always positioned just slightly too close for purely professional relationships. I checked Victoria's laptop one evening while she was showering. Her browser history showed searches for professional dinner attire, business travel essentials, and conference room privacy policies. More disturbing were deleted emails in her trash folder, fragments of conversations with Richard that seemed far more personal than professional. The breakthrough came when I checked our joint credit card statement. Victoria had been using our card for purchases. She'd never mentioned expensive lingerie, perfume, restaurant charges for places she'd never told me about. The dates aligned perfectly with her mentorship sessions, but I needed definitive proof. I installed a family tracking app on Victoria's phone, explaining it was for safety purposes since she'd been staying out later for business meetings. She agreed without suspicion, which almost made me feel guilty about my deception. The tracking data revealed everything. Victoria wasn't going to Richard's office for their sessions. She was going to upscale hotels, restaurants, and on 2 occasions, a residential address I didn't recognize. I followed her one Thursday evening, staying far enough back to avoid detection. Victoria pulled into the parking lot of the Grand Meridian Hotel and walked directly to the bar, where Richard was waiting. Even from a distance, their greeting was unmistakably romantic. A lingering hug, his hand on the small of her back, the way she leaned into him while they talked. I took photos from my car, documenting their behavior. They had dinner, laughed intimately over wine, and at 9:30 p.m., they walked together toward the hotel elevators. I had my proof, but I wanted more. If this relationship was affecting Victoria's workplace and Richard's professional conduct, there might be larger consequences. I researched Richard's consulting firm and discovered they had strict policies about client relationships and professional conduct. I also learned that Victoria's company had paid substantial fees for this mentorship program, fees that Richard was apparently using to fund his affair with my wife. Over the following week, I gathered additional evidence. I documented the hotel visits, photographed their public displays of affection, and compiled a timeline of their relationship progression. I also discovered that Richard had a history of inappropriate relationships with female clients. Information I found through professional networking connections. The confrontation needed to be strategic. I couldn't just expose the affair. I needed to address the professional misconduct that was affecting both their workplaces. I scheduled a meeting with Victoria's HR department, presenting them with evidence of an inappropriate relationship that was affecting their expensive mentorship program. I simultaneously contacted Richard's consulting firm with documentation of his unprofessional conduct with a client. Then I confronted Victoria at home, presenting her with photographs and evidence of her deception. "I know about Richard," I said simply, placing the photos on our kitchen table. "I know about the hotels, the fake mentorship sessions, everything." Victoria's face went white. She tried to deny it initially, claiming the evidence was misleading, that her relationship with Richard was strictly professional. But faced with concrete proof, her story crumbled. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she finally admitted. "Richard is brilliant, Michael. He understands my ambitions in ways you never have. What we have is intellectual as much as physical. What you have is a professional affair that's about to destroy both your careers." I replied. I was right. Within 48 hours, both Victoria and Richard faced serious professional consequences. Victoria's company terminated their consulting contract with Richard's firm and launched an internal investigation into the misuse of professional development funds. Richard's firm suspended him, pending a review of his client relationships and professional conduct. Victoria was reassigned within her company and lost the major accounts she'd gained through Richard's connections. The networking relationships she'd built became professionally toxic when word spread about the inappropriate mentorship. Richard faced even worse consequences. 2 other female clients came forward with similar stories of inappropriate relationships disguised as professional mentoring. His consulting firm terminated his partnership, and his reputation in the industry was permanently damaged. As for our marriage, that ended 6 months later. Victoria blamed me for destroying her career advancement, claiming I was jealous of her professional success. But success built on deception isn't real achievement, it's just elaborate manipulation. The divorce was straightforward since I had documented evidence of her affair and the professional misconduct involved. Victoria tried to claim half of my financial advisory business, but her credibility was so damaged that her lawyers advised against pursuing aggressive demands. Today, I'm rebuilding my personal life and my trust in relationships. Victoria's career recovered somewhat, but she never reached the executive level she dreamed about. Richard disappeared from our industry entirely. The lesson I learned was that real mentorship doesn't require secrecy, expensive hotel meetings, or romantic chemistry. Legitimate professional relationships can withstand scrutiny and transparency. When someone you trust starts creating private spaces and exclusive access, that's when professional boundaries are being crossed for personal reasons. Professional mentorship should elevate your career without destroying your personal integrity. The moment those boundaries blur, you're not advancing professionally. You're just finding sophisticated ways to justify betrayal. Trust your instincts, document what you discover, and remember that real success never requires you to sacrifice the people who believed in you from the beginning. That's my story. If you've experienced workplace betrayal or discovered that professional relationships in your life weren't as innocent as they appeared, share your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, subscribe for more true accounts of betrayal and justice.